Hello, my friends. My name is Sith. Welcome to the new portal for upright men and women. Stay with me as we continue on our journey to true enlightenment and bear just one thing in mind. I take no Sith. I just keep Sith real.
Guys, at all times, we need to think rationally. We all have a brain and we're supposed to use it. Now, I have a little deeper insight into the incident that had gone on Tuesday night where 6 people were shot in Tex Lane in central Kingston. And because my office is in downtown Kingston and because I have a good rapport with people who live in and around downtown Kingston, I have a bit more information than what the average person would have. And I can tell you guys, this what happened on Tuesday night is much deeper, appears to be much deeper than it seems. And we will not see it unless we have a very analytical outlook. Unless we can think critically and reason objectively. Details are still sketchy up to a point because so far a specific motive for this incident has not been established because investigation, of course, is still ongoing. But based on the known facts, we can extrapolate from that what is likely to have happened. But first of all, for those of you who are not aware of the incident or who need a bit more insight into what had taken place, here is what happened. At about 8:30 on Tuesday night, October 7th. Now, to help you to relate to the incident better, for those of you who know downtown Kingston, especially if you know North Street around the KC Cathedral area, George's High School, St. George's, let me put it in perspective for you so you can know exactly where the incident took place. Let me tell you where Tex Lane is. Say you're coming from South Camp Road, driving past Kingston College, driving past the cathedral and heading west to go into downtown. When you reach to George's, St. George's, just before you go to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, just before you go to the Seventh-day Adventist Church, there's a left turn for a little lane. That lane is Tex Lane. So, the car turning from right there, Tex Lane. And while some people say the incident happened at the corner of Charles Street and Tex Lane, no, it happened at the corner of Charles Street and Beeston Street. So let's clear that up. The others have it wrong. The car just sped through, coming from, alright, look at this photograph. The shooting took place in and around this 56A right here. And it did the shooting right there. Then it turned right onto Beeston Street, like in the direction where you see the front of the police car is pointing it. It took that right turn. And it head towards and cross over James's Street and carried on. This scene where you're looking at is the very end of Beeston Street. The other end, if you go in the direction where you see the police vehicle more or less pointing, you would end up on Spanish Town Road, about a mile and a half down the road. Probably a mile anyway. Now, before I draw you guys into us working through the conclusions of this incident, let us listen to the superintendent in charge of Kingston Central Divisional Headquarters just give us a brief synopsis of what had taken place.
Is that sometime about 8:50 this evening, a car drove up along Tex Lane. Men from that car opened fire and a group of persons were standing and sitting in the space, then drove off. After the shooting, it was discovered that 6 persons were shot, to include 2 teenagers, 2 children, 9 years old, and 2 adults. As at now, we have no reported death. It is early days in the investigation, but for now, we are taking a preemptive approach to secure the place, to prevent any reprisal.
And what I'm hearing from a good source is that the men did not alight from the vehicle. They actually didn't even stop driving. They drove through, slowed down, put their guns through the windows, and fired from both sides of the vehicle. I hear that one had opened his car door, but he never actually exited, just put his foot out and took aim and started firing. Now, let us dissect this for a moment. One elderly man, some women, and 2 kids were shot. Also, no able-bodied men were shot. The little girl that was shot was only 9 years old. And one of the young boys who were shot was actually disabled. And he was in his teens. Him no do no body nothing. The woman them no do no body nothing. The old man no do nobody nothing. And the 9-year-old girl, no, she no do nobody nothing. So that in itself tells us something. This was no reprisal. Because everybody who was shot were decent, upstanding citizens who were not involved in crime. Not only that, the people who were shot has no connection to anybody who is involved in crime. In other words, none of the people who were shot had been specifically targeted. They were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and the people who come just shoot who them see. End of story. But this leads us now to the question, why? Why? Point to note, this area has been experiencing total peace for at least 3 years. When I say total peace, nobody had been shot in that local vicinity for quite some time. Not that shooting doesn't happen in downtown Kingston, just not there. And it is also important to note that the Kingston Central Police Division had recorded 13 murders as of October 4th this year. This represents a 37% decline year on year for the past few years. In other words, things nice in the area. Normally in this place, it's about 33 people killed. Murders happen in downtown Kingston and much more shooting. But this has been dwindling down every year from an average of 33 to 13. One of the reasons that is said to have, one of the factors that is said to have caused this is the intervention of Donovan Williams, the current MP. Over the past 5 years, he had gone into the community, and this is a section of the community which is predominantly PNP. He bypasses the councillor, the JLP councillor for the area most of the time, and gone into the PNP area and had given out a lot of jobs. Gotten the people there into hard programs, gotten them work in the hotel industries, and jobs as security guard, etc. Holding also a lot of job fairs and those kind of things. And these sort of things have sort of turned around the area. There are very few, if any, idlers left in central Kingston, at least in the area where the shooting happened. I hear that he got bus and carried the people up to NIS to receive their pensions, their full pension, even if they have never showed any pensions in their lives. So, if guns stop fire, more money starts rolling in, lots of jobs giving out, More people enrolled on the PATH program, and several other social groups have stepped in and are assisting. Why is it that this shooting still took place? Because if it is not related to gangsterism, if it's not a turf war, if it is not connected to extortion or revenge killing, then it points to something else. I will venture to say is that this community is a victim of its own success. And by extension, the Jamaican government is a victim of its own success. There are people out there who begs bad, can't sleep at night to see how the country is being run. Crime is going down. There are so many more jobs and all the other good things are happening. They can't acknowledge it. On the face of it, the most logical explanation I can come up with is that somebody feels the murder rate needs to go back up. Jamaica should not win. If Jamaica wins, their agenda fails. Now, I will continue to watch this one very, very carefully, and as soon as new development happens that can take us outside of this speculation, I'll be the first to come on this channel and explain these new developments. If you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can get these updates as soon as they occur. And I'm just keeping Sith real.